All right, thank you for that. Let's see. So I heard Scott, Sean, I know Andy is gone. And don't have AJ yet, but let's go ahead and get started. Close up some stuff on my screen so I don't get lost. Okay. So I slightly jiggered the agenda today. I think it's easy to get lost in the minutia of status reports and miss the big picture and some of the major issues that are facing. So let's give this a try. I don't want to eliminate status reports, but I'd like to keep them at a fairly, what are the 2 or 3 big things to report, and if we can focus on what's coming up and what the blockers might be. But I want to start with what we ended with last time, which was talking about, well, what does it mean to be a version of Aether, and point you at a document that the TST members iterated on for a week, and it's fairly not done. Let me quickly jump to it. Well, I'm not sure why you did that, but I can open a preview. Interesting. All right, so this is something that you're not going to be able to read in real time, but if you remember, we were talking about what was not working with the latest release. And long story short, we have different interpretations of bumping Helm charts and what that means. So I'll let you read this, but the biggest aha moment for me as we were sharing notes and comparing definitions is that OnRamp's definition of latest, it now has to explicitly include the version numbers of all the Helm charts and not just let the latest be pulled, because in the case of the SD core, the latest actually refers to what I would think of as a dev Helm chart. It's beyond version 1.3 of the SD core. And in fact, 112.8 corresponds to the official release of 1.13. So I'll let you digest that on your own, but what basically came of all of this is that we have conflated in what we used to call latest 3 different things, which is obviously what we were kind of all assuming, the most recently published Helm chart. But then we realized that there's this intermediate step where the component has been released, but the on-ramp or Ethernet box, whenever I say on-ramp, it applies pretty much equally well to Ethernet box for the purpose of this discussion, that it had not yet been certified. And so there are really 3 definitions of latest that we need to tease apart. And I suggested last time that we call the thing that had actually been certified on-ramp / Air Ethernet box as stable. We can still do that. I slightly jiggered the terminology here because I was just trying to keep latest what all of our users assume about latest, which is it's the latest that actually works. I'm sorry, not all of our users, but many of our users. So we can debate how to introduce new terminology like candidate releases and latest and stable and so on. But understanding why this has become an issue is, I think, the first step. Now, this is just a base setting. And when you get to the bottom, DAF has put together a more detailed proposal about how we might interpret things. There's some comments in there, and you might just think about that. But with that kind of background, I wanted to open the floor and just see if there were any other big points to be making about this, or thoughts on this problem, especially at the TST, because you've had more time to think about it. I suspect this is one of those you got to go off and read it. Actually, as you read that, you're going to find that I chose to go with a different interpretation of latest. I didn't use stable, which is the idea that I used last time. I'm actually now rethinking that and not so much worried about backwards compatibility and maybe it's okay to introduce stable. That kind of makes sense. It's the more intuitive, I think. So take that little discussion with a grain of salt. Let's see. So far, only a couple people have found the document. What do we have in there? Yeah. An anonymous buffalo. All right, well, I guess caught you all by surprise. So let's please take a look at that document and comment on it and be prepared to discuss it a little bit more next time.
Maybe if you share the link in chat or something, it's
well. So you should have the link is there in the notes. So maybe you're not in the notes. Let me get it in chat. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Larry, I found my way to it. I think I'm one of the numerous anonymous animals that are showing up on screen now.
There's a link in chat for you. Sorry about that. I should have just put it there.
all right.
So what opens? I mean, as we review this, what opens do you want us to consider? I mean,
well,
what in?
Yeah,
go
good
ahead.
question. So first of all, I don't want to get wrapped around the axle as to whether we call it latest or stable. The important point is that we've distinguished between different interpretations of these different blueprints. So we can, I don't want to get wrapped around the axle about that. But for me, I think there's two big issues here. One is it's pretty clear to me what we have to do to declare an instance of, or a release of, how we want to use that term, of on-ramp and Ether in a box. I'm a little bit more concerned about exactly what the bar is for declaring a version of ROC and SD core. Because to a first approximation, Sean said ROC is now ready, and AJ said SD core is now ready. Now I trust what they've done. I'm not faulting that at all. But just in terms of top level visibility as to what that means is sort of the most open question in my mind. And we kind of filled in, if you go down to this piece of the document, this is just trying to identify what tests were passed so that we would declare ROC and SD core done. And it's actually a little bit more than that. I wanted to understand what the developers were doing pre-commit. I wanted to understand what tests were run as you try to do a merge, and then what other tests were being run on a regular basis. And I kind of think this is relatively complete for ROC. There's a lot of holes in my understanding of SD core. So
And
Scott, to answer your question, what I'm highlighting here is, I think, the biggest hole in my understanding. That may not be the biggest hole in other people's, but
yeah, I think there's a little bit of a semantic line to draw between, component releases, which, mean something to the component, but may not pass a bar with integration. For example, someone could release a new ROC, and that new ROC doesn't work with Ether yet. I mean, maybe there's integration work to be done because, components, they have to work together. I mean, maybe you release a new ROC and it's not working right with SD core, something like that.
yes.
So I think there's sort of that, there's always that line between, it passed my unit tests and it actually integrates into the overall product and the whole product works end to end.
Yes.
So I think
yeah,
that's the hard part to sort of wrap your head around, which I think is going into your nightlies down, that are listed on each of those for ROC and SD core. There's a nightly which does the longer integration test, maybe.
So that's certainly a big part of it, but it's so I think this distinction was critical to understand that. I think the point you're making, I absolutely agree. It's the top level point, which is there's the distinction between it's been the components released, but it's not been certified on Ether as a whole. It has been certified on Ether as a whole, and then those are the two big points that you're making. So when we get down to the questions down here, the answer, I believe, is we have a set of tests that run to declare it integrated. Ironically, we have an integration bar. It's not terribly high, but at least there's a bar. And so, in fact, it's undoubtedly lower than the bar for the individual components. I would not be at all shocked by that. So you just made a really important point, which is you were viewing integration as nightly. So does that mean there are no nightly tests run that help convince you that the component is solid?
It's been such a long time, I don't remember exactly what tests we had. I was sort of drawing the mental distinction between things that run quickly and things that take a long time to run, and developers, they check something in, they want it within 5 or 10 minutes, and you don't have time to spin up an entire Ether and run an hour long. So that's what makes me think that the nightlies primarily would be in the integration space, because if you have something that can be tested quickly, just do it on a pre-merge check,
Well, but so, all right, so this is exactly the crux of the issue, which is, from what I pieced together, the pre-merge tests are actually fairly minimal. So I'm going to say, I'm going to put words in Sean's mouth. He ran Rock through much more than that. Now, maybe they were manual and not automated nightly, but from what I understood from him, the Onos integration tests were a bar that he cleared manually, even though they probably are a bar that also gets to run nightly. I'm not sure.
That's my understanding, is they're still run nightly.
Yeah, but you didn't see any of those results. You ran your own.
Well, sorry, I didn't see them.
I mean, sorry, were you aware of those running and said, yes, I now see that it passed that test?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, you did. All right. So the note I'll just make in here is some.
Sorry, Larry, to be clear, sorry, I realize now you were asking about the nightly. No, I didn't see the nightly tests pass. I saw the manual test pass.
That's right. Thank you. That's getting back to the only nightly, I'm sorry, there is no nightly integration test that I know of. The bar that Scott was referring to, that we now know it's integrated because it passed the nightly test, and those are typically integration tests. The only test that is like that is actually running Ether in a box and bringing up both Rock and the core, and doing it in such a way that the core got its configuration from the Rock. That's the only confirmation that you've got integration end to end. I mean, there could be other nightly tests running, and that's what no one seems to have a handle on, how valid or useful those are.
The thing with nightly tests is when they fail, often nobody notices. I mean, that's just been my historical view of them, is that all of your nightlies can be exploding, and the developers working on the code can actually not know about it. They didn't get the email, or the system is in such a state that things fail all the time, and they did get the email, but they assumed it was just business as usual. So they can be a challenge to get people to pay attention to nightlies, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm jotting some notes down here. I don't know if this is the right place in the document.
Yeah, if there was a way to trigger the nightlies manually, that could be useful, and then you could have like an endorsement of Sean's manual test, that it's a developer responsibility. Hey, before trying to promote this up, trigger the Jenkins job, watch it pass the integration tests, and then check it off in your code review request. Something like that.
So I sent two links there. One is for the honest topo integration tests, and the other is for the honest config integration tests. And you can see the topo ones are running and are passing, but the honest config ones are running but failing with past 8 months.
Those are the timed ONOS ones, correct?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I'm
They're all
calling
failing
it.
due to naming contention. They're on my immediate list this week or next week to resolve. But yeah, fundamentally, there's too many failures and the signal to noise is too high for people to pay attention to. And that is something that we want to change over time, but isn't there at all right now.
All right, so thank you. This is exactly the discussion I was hoping that we would have. And now so Sean, like you said, you're running effectively these tests, you're just triggering them manually. And to Scott's point, when a component deems the component stable enough and complete enough, feature ready and so on to declare a release, as long as it's tested and they have some level of confidence, maybe it doesn't matter how nightly those were run. We do still need integration tests, but the only integration tests that I would argue that we have that are of any value are the default thing that runs an on-ramp and Ether in a box. And that's what we did when we did the last release. That's all we did. And once we have that baseline, we can add to it. I get this is a minutia. ONOS integration tests, why that is important. What is the topo test value provided to ROC?
Right. So I would say the core logic of ROC is in onus config. That's really, it's the backbone of ROC. It's the data store. It's the it's the validation engine. It's so many parts of it, and yeah, it's it's not running all of ROC, but it's a very important component of it.
Yeah, but I guess to
No,
answer your question, Larry, both topo and config are required components of ROC. So
I
both
didn't
must be integrated.
understand why topo was required, I guess.
Topo stores information about the targets that ONOS config is interacting with. So ONOS config depends on topo.
Okay, so when I said ONOS config, I've used two different phrases here. Right down here, I said ONOS integration test, and then I said ONOS config. So it's both ONOS config and ONOS topo integration test.
Yes.
Is the full phrase here. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I don't think there's a test called onus integration test. I guess I was collectively referring to.
Yeah. Now thank you. Now I get that. Okay. Now that discussion we just had, we also need to have that discussion for the core. And I don't know if we have enough critical mass to have that one or not.
Yeah, Larry from SGCO side, me and Vijay are there.
Yeah, good. Thank you. So I'm just, if you've been following this discussion for the ROC, and maybe this is now a drill down we don't need to spend time here on, but it would be good to get that same level of understanding on the core. What did you run it against? What are you ignoring? Because the signal to noise ratio is too high, and so on.
Right. Do you want me to update this document offline with the same set of information?
Yes, if you could please do that. And we'll visit this whole thing next time. And we've probably introduced and spent a lot of time here, but I think this was very productive. It's exactly the kind of drill down we need. Yeah, so please,
sure.
Yeah, please do that. You should have access to it. I think having access to the link will get you the ability to do that.
Sure.
Thank you. All right. Second item on the list, JIRA configuration. Is this yours, Daph? I think we didn't get enough time to spend on it last week and we wanted to revisit it. So please run with this one.
Yep, this is, if you could blow it up real quickly.
This link?
Yeah, that link will give you the working doc. Two basic questions, one which I'd like to address real quickly here, and the other which should probably be taken offline as it's more detailed. You'll see the who can do what issue. Currently, pretty much anybody who can do anything can create, edit, and read tickets. Is that what TST desires? I'd kind of like to see a breakdown between create tickets and edit tickets. You'll see underneath the recommendation what I would recommend. I just want to see what the TST group would like as to who can do what. Again, right now, it's pretty much Aether users, Aether access folks are the only one who can access anything. And the question is, do you want anonymous or more global users to be able to create tickets, but leave the edit and update tickets to the Aether community itself, or remain locked into Aether availability only?
So just to be clear on distinction here, this is not the world. You have to be an ONF account holder.
Correct, yes.
All right,
At the
so
moment,
that's-
you have to have an ONF account.
Good. So let's start there. So that's create. That makes sense. Edit tickets.
Now, does
Um,
it make sense to split out the types of tickets? I mean, are you talking about tickets as in bug reports versus tickets which are feature requests? Because,
At the moment, I am not. but
okay,
worth thinking
'Cause I-
about.
yeah, I was thinking, the audience that submits bug requests may be wider than the audience that, submits feature requests.
Is that something that you could distinguish?
You can, yes. We just, you'd have to require setting up as two separate kinds of tickets, which they're not quite right now, but doable. It doesn't stop anybody from filing a feature request as a bug, but you can
Sure.
deal with that after the fact.
Well, Scott, while that's a valid thing, I don't know if we need to worry about it yet. I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe it's not worth worrying about until, you actually have sufficient quantity of these things, it becomes a problem.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so the next part of the proposal is Aether devs that are contributing to the code base within the last 2 years.
Suggestion. Yeah.
Suggestion.
So you guys can override and put anybody you want in there.
Any reaction to that proposal?
Would that be an easy list to find?
Yes. I could generate that easily from GitHub statistics, that particular thing. And as people trip or you're aware of others who should have access to editing tickets, we simply add them in.
Okay, and as new people come along, what would be the process to get
They
somebody?
either request and get vetted by TST, they request and we automatically check them in. You require them to contribute a level code that gets approved, and then they automatically get checked in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Right.
okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I think seeing the list so we can debug it up front would be good, but I don't have any problem with that idea. All right, then all account holders can read.
Now note that number 3 can get tricky. If you say all ONF account holders can read all the tickets, as opposed to just file them and know whether they get resolved, but if they can read all the tickets, that means any debugging information, any API information, any of the more low-level details that you may want to prevent the wider world from knowing would need to be watched carefully.
Yeah, I don't see that that's going to be an issue. Does anyone else?
No, I mean, that's how we always operated on ONF, I thought,
Yes, it is. Just want to make sure people understand it.
So this is just
Yeah.
a concern if someone enters an account name into a comment or something while working on a ticket, you would want to
As a-
avoid that if
Yeah.
you
As
put a
an
name and
example.
password in the clear.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think for us as Intel people, you know, we're quite aware that we shouldn't put any Intel information in tickets external to Intel anyway. So yeah, I don't think we're
Most
gonna-
people should, but you never know.
Yeah, I think that's all fine too. So, then there's sort of an O and F admin thing. I guess that's fine, but I would maybe, as designated by the TST, I would at least put the TST there, but we can. I don't think there's any issues at the moment. That we go through you as admin and you actually do it, that seems like a good plan.
That's sufficiently easy.
Okay, then a general cleanup implies removing GS Lab contractor group.
Yeah, currently the GS Lab contracts group is obsolete and has previous members in it who are no longer tightly used. Replaced with the current Aether QA group. There's currently a group called Pronto Access, which includes most of the Intel folks. Does that get renamed with the Pronto project itself disappearing? I'm not,
I think it goes away.
just goes away. Okay, good. And then we should have, I need to give the TSC group a list of the people in Ether Access today, and you guys may want to prune it or trim it or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I think all of this sounds perfectly good. So if you could, the notes we've taken here, if you could rephrase it as the way it is as opposed to a proposal, and the rest, Scott, Sean, does that all sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I'll take care of that. The next phase is the ticket layout fields. This is just which field should show up when. We can either do it. If it needs discussion, we should take it offline because
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Take
This
a
is
long
going to be
time.
too detailed.
My own observation, if we go with the above proposal, everything that's listed as optional, I would remove from the create ticket screen, i.e. when people create a ticket, they don't even see labels or epic link or story points or, etc. All they get is what is necessary to file the ticket. Then every other time anybody looks at the ticket, they see everything. But it simplifies things for new users.
Yeah, it kind of makes things more difficult for experienced users though. I mean, if I do want to put in a label or a story point, I've got to do two edits.
Absolutely accurate. Question is, which end do you want to support?
I think it's fine to leave things optional on the edit form or the create form.
Okay.
I don't know what other people think.
Yeah, I think I
that
would
is-
agree with that too.
All right. I'll leave them both and put those as done.
All right. So back to, if I can now find it. Oh, it says, yeah. So you also have a sample dashboard. Do we,
Yeah, go ahead and click that if you may need a login for it.
I haven't logged, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I can share mine quickly if you want.
Why don't we go ahead and do that? It'll be faster than me figuring out what my password was.
All right. Let me get over here. Come on. So for those who don't know, Jira has a dashboard. You can put interesting things on it. This is what I have set up as kind of like the default dashboard when people first come in. There'll be a quick intro page here in the introduction. Quick links for various things that may happen. An activity stream to show what's happened recently on this project. And tickets assigned to whoever is logging in and seeing this. This is things you are also interested in. This is just a sample thing. If people would prefer different as a global one, let me know. If you like some guidance as to how to build your own dashboard to have what you want to see it, let me know. The only other real question is if there should be a separate dashboard for like, TST and lead architects of the project and stuff who want a more global picture than a dev centric view. Anyway, just want to let you see this and let me know if you want me to change it.
I think, sorry, I think one dashboard is quite enough.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
Yeah, my problems with a second dashboard is you can never find it when you want it. I'd much rather just have one dashboard that shows everything.
Okay,
Yeah, second that.
all right, good enough. I'll leave that as. If people have requests, file a ticket. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the punchline is, let's start using this for everything so we don't lose stuff like we have on occasion done before.
Now, doing that also means we need somebody to vet the tickets and shoot them off to the right people, unless everybody wants to take on that chore by themselves when they go in, which gets problematic. If everybody owns something, nobody does.
Okay, so now we're gonna need to have a bug scrub kind of thing as well. Ticket assignment. Well, yeah, go ahead, Sean.
I was just going to say, I mean, I've logged on to that gyro.opennetworking.org myself, and I couldn't see the dashboard you were showing. I'm seeing Ether PCP, Ether Ops, or Ether SD-RAN.
Now you look at dashboards or?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing in the dashboards.
Okay,
I know I have a manage. Do I have to search for it, or what's it called?
You may have to manage dashboards and add it to your list, because the dashboard pull down will pull up things that you generally use.
So what's this one called?
Ether Dev Main. Let me let me share it again so people can see what
Yeah,
I'm doing.
because I just got logged in and now I'm seeing the same thing that Sean is.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so,
go
I
up to
mean, the-
dashboards. Each thing is different setup here.
Yeah.
Yes,
it
I'm
includes
seeing
none of those.
none of those.
Right. So if you go to the testing and version page, sorry, the running agenda, and click on this dashboard directly, it should pull this up directly and then now add it to yours.
So at manage dashboard, you can add it.
Yeah, or you can do it at manage dashboards, search, Ether.
Is there any way to like make that the default or anything, or I don't know?
Probably, I'd have to look at it.
Right.
Let me take a bigger look at it, but
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because I have an older account and I subscribe to some of these old dashboards. But I think maybe if some of these dashboards are obsolete, maybe we should just get rid of them.
I'm happy to do that, and maybe next week I'll give you a list of stuff to debug, or should I just delete stuff that people haven't used?
Yeah.
Do you trust my judgment, or do you want to look at it?
I mean, part of the problem is the tool here. I mean, you went to manage dashboards and it gave you a search with no hint of what to put in. Okay, you knew to search for Ether, but like for a new user, it can be like,
yeah, I'm seeing this. I'm having the same problem. Even when I pulled down manage,
yeah,
it was Ether Dev.
Ether-dev.
I get no results on a
Ether.
search.
You don't get it?
You,
I think it's the tool is the problem. I mean,
yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, I'll have to figure out why that doesn't work.
Okay, thanks.
Let me come back to this. I'll report on next week then.
Report it, stick it in the TST call, Zoom,
Pending, yep.
Slack channel too.
Okay. Why have we test? Yes, okay. All right. And I'll figure out a way to set up as the bug. If you, just to check, for anybody who's got the running agenda, if you click on that link, does it show up for you?
Yeah, it shows up for me, yeah, but then it gives me this warning, it's not in your dashboard menu because you haven't starred it in your favorites. And then I've got to go off and find how to manage dashboards and star it in my
Started on
favorites.
that. Okay. So I need to figure out a way to make it a default then. All right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Will do.
All right, so where were we? All right. Let's go back to sharing. I wanted to spend just a minute on the work that Purdue is doing. They have, they're attacking the 3-node or the in-node cluster design, and bringing Kubernetes up on multiple nodes is not the hard problem. The hard problem is how to independently scale the G-node vSIM, which is now running inside of the SD core. And so they have a prototype of it working on the outside, and you can scale it independently. And now it looks no different to the core than a physical E-node B or G-node B, which is where we wanted to end up with that. Once done, both the emulated RAN will scale independent of the core and put additional control workload on it. And the single node case should just fall out as a special case of a multi-node case as opposed to being treated separately. And I think that will dramatically simplify things going forward. That's just an FYI. I think we should consider just suspending the other work here, because the 3-node cluster problem is not the first step, it's the second and third step that cause this to be a complicated thing to do. So now let's get to the status reports / blockers. And again, I don't want this to be a blow by blow at a low level, but at a high level, where do things stand? What issues are you facing? What do you need feedback from the rest of the community on? Sean?
Yeah, I can give you a high level. That unfortunately Ether in a box is broken at the moment. I pushed a patch last week that did not fix it. So it's currently honest. Rock is not starting up. Honest config is not starting up properly. Jordan is looking into it. That's the high level summary.
Okay, so that whole notion of getting the latest rock certified Ether in a box is still pending.
Yeah, unfortunately. And
It isn't. Did you just trip over some major thing, or is this fixable?
Well, with Jordan's help, it's fixable. Really, what I'm finding is, and I don't want to get into the low-level details here, but basically, you know, at the very basic level, you try installing Rock, and honest config never comes up and starts properly. And you know, we could go into a lot of detail about what should happen, but Jordan is going to investigate. Hopefully.
So saying that Jordan was called in, it gives me a level of challenge here. This is not just fixing some Ether in a box config file.
No, it'll take some updates, I think, of atomics.
Got it. Thank you.
So, Sean, just a question. So this is referring to the same point that we talked about last time, that the overall integration of Rock with the AIAB/Ether ramp, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So at this point, we have a candidate version of Rock, but it is not yet past the integration, our low bar integration test, which is that it also works with Ether in a box. And this is probably going to end up causing you to generate a new version of the rock, I would guess.
Yeah, so my experience of it is this version of rock that I have released, Aether Rock Umbrella 2136, works on every other cluster I try it on, but it's not working on the RKE2 cluster in Aether.
Ah, it could be arcade. All right. Thank you.
And, you know, from what I can see, nothing has changed in RKE2. The only thing that has changed, as far as I can see, is atomics. So it seems to be something in RKE is breaking atomics.
Got it. Thanks. All right, SD core. So I think the SMF issues that you were seeing have gone away. Is that a fair statement? And you now are pretty solid with 1.3. I forget now. That's 0, 12, 8. Any issues to report in SD core?
So let me just say that yes, SMF issue, whatever was reported, Larry, that is fixed, and we updated the Helm charts and as well as the documentation website to reflect 1.3.1 release. So all the related contents and charts are updated, right? So anyone who takes the latest Helm charts, latest in the sense like probably 2 or 3 days back, I had done that, looks like. So anyone who takes it latest should get this fixed by default, right? So it's updated both the branch as well as the main line.
And can you say
Right.
what the chart version number is?
Oh, okay. I'll just I'll update it, Larry. I have this document. I'll just give it 2 minutes. Yeah. So you are looking for the umbrella Helm chart?
Yeah.
Question. Yeah. Okay. So let me just go to release
So
page.
AJ, and this may be a mistake on my part, but my assumption is if I pull the latest, I might get something that's beyond the one that works. It's where you're currently doing new work.
So no, if you stick with the Helm chart version, you should not. But if you just take the, if you keep updating the Helm charts, then yes, it will take the. Okay, I think how do I say? So it depends, Larry, how we are installing it. So typical Aether in a box workflow. If we clone the Helm chart repository and if we clone Aether in a box, and if we do the make5g test, right? So that means we are taking up the latest Helm charts. Okay.
Yeah,
On the other hand, if we use if we change the Helm chart branch to a specific version, then it uses only that version. Right? So,
no, I completely get that. But the issue here is that the interpretation that Ethernet have been using is that latest was the latest stable, but it's potentially beyond that. Latest means the whatever I get if I don't specify a version number.
Yeah, latest means it literally latest. It need not be stable.
So 0.12.9 is the stable version.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So that's good. Are there any other? I know that you've encountered a number of different.
I do see that there were like 2 issues were reported by GS Lab. I need to look at them. There was one thing looks like around the GNOD stream and other is around the MongoDB crash. While I was just checking this Aether Jira dashboard, I just saw those 2 issues showing up on my name.
Okay.
I need to look at it. Yeah. So
right.
It may not have the impact as such, but yes, and something good to have those fixes.
All right.
I have one query for the SD code. So for the auto scaling part, we are showcasing by using another open source tool called KEDA, KEDA, Kubernetes Event Driven Auto Scaling, and that has Apache license. I just wanted to check if it's okay to talk about it in a Techinar.
So this is a scaling of.
Yeah, it's
what?
a Kubernetes. So it's like Kubernetes extensions or tools to help Kubernetes scale pods
Mhm.
of any pods that you run on it. And there is, I can just quickly share. In the chat, I just shared the license and the GitHub repo. This is probably used. There are multiple ways to do this scaling. I mean, I think Amazon has its own open source version to use this one, but KEDA is just one version, one way to do it. And
So this is, so just to understand the context here, you were looking for tools to help you auto scale the core, as
Right.
opposed to explicitly saying, you know what, I'm watching the workload and I need to add another UPF. Is that the gist of it?
yes, that's correct.
Got it. Okay.
But I don't think UPF is supported. I mean, precisely, Badri, like
Yeah,
I think
not
we have tried.
UPF itself. Yeah, just the idea is for any pod to.
Any pod, yeah. So you're looking at what was the name of the tool again?
KEDA, Kubernetes Event Driven Auto Scale. KEDA, KEDA, yeah.
Auto scale.
I mean, we have added this construct on, like we have showcased in our documentation how to integrate this to AIAB to showcase any auto scaling of SD core itself. So just bringing it out here to.
So
check
you said something about talking about it at maybe a users meeting. Is that what you were?
We are having SD core 1.3 Techinar, where we are
Right.
trying to talk about how anybody who wants to auto scale can use this and how they can use this. We have added documentation for it.
Oh, good.
And
nice.
And we are planning to talk. We're just mentioning that this is another another open source tool. So I just wanted to clarify if it's okay to talk about other open source tools.
Yeah.
Okay.
That Techinar is tomorrow, by the way, right?
Yes, that's right.
Can you remind us of the time?
It starts at 9 a.m. Pacific. I'll put a link in chat in case anybody would like to sign up and join us.
Great, thank you. So do you have, you've given this a try and it does what behaves well?
Yes, it does.
Oh,
So
nice.
I just added a link for the steps on what you need to change in AIAB to see the SMF pods auto scale based on a Prometheus metric.
So you're specifically using it to scale the AMF.
The SMF in this example,
I'm sorry,
SMF.
Yeah.
It can be used for any pod as such, but I'm just showcasing in this example for SMF.
Got it. Nice. Okay, we've left QA to the end. I know there are some QA notes up top. Can we get the 8-minute summary?
Sure. So starting with SD core release 1.3 testing, we have got 3 bugs and reported them on Jira. We have executed around 9 test cases because we are targeting P1 test cases in the start, and we we have these P1 test cases well understood. So that's why we are targeting them initially. And out of around 24 test cases, we were able to execute 9 and we got 3 bugs. And we are awaiting a few query resolutions. So I'll keep posting these queries on Aether dev channel so that we will get a better understanding on features as well. Then moving on to rock component.
Kunal,
release
before
to, yeah.
before we move on there, so Ajay, as you rightly mentioned about some 2 issues about one of them is the MongoDB one. This is what that issue Kunal is seeing it many number of times there. So if you can, whenever you get time and if you can prioritize looking into that issue, the MongoDB crash issue, that would be really helpful.
This is really surprising. Like I've just unfortunately I don't have setup. That's the reason I could not look at it. But we never saw this issue. And is there any way to bring up or start the conversation on the Slack as and when this issue? I mean, it's good that you are updating the defect, but getting things on the Slack sometimes helps to get some of the debugging output quickly.
Yes, sure.
Yeah,
We can do that.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to see. Because I do remember seeing crash, one odd crash, but then it comes to stable state. If we are saying it's crashing continuously, then I wonder then how come we are able to run some test cases. So there is some kind of disconnect. Maybe it's not crashing continuously, or maybe it doesn't have impact.
Right. So what we have
Yeah.
seen, yeah, definitely. So what we have seen is it's an inconsistent issue. 90% of the time it is reproducible. 10% of the time, whenever it is not reproduced, we kind of use that window to execute cases.
But logically, isn't it like once something comes up, you should
I
be
understand.
able to execute
Yes.
multiple?
Yes.
It seems like deployment problem.
Could be. We are not really sure on that. So that's why we need your help.
Okay.
Yeah. So in case you need any logs or sort of things, we try to provide those in the bug itself. In case you need the setup to be accessible when it is reproduced, we can do that as well.
Yeah, so these, the setup is on AWS, so that should be accessible from anywhere. So yeah, we can give access to that. All right. So moving on to raw component release version 2.1.36 testing. So we are running a test suite of 900, 1,000 plus UV test on this release, and we have got a few bugs as well. We have reported them on Jira, and we are in discussion with Sean for the same, and we are checking if any other logs are required, so that we can help him in the debugging as well. And we are awaiting for rock integrations. Once we will get the integrated build, we will test it with the AI as well.
So the bugs that you filed were, I'm remembering one of them was a GUI bug. So this is not bugs because of some tests per se. This is just trying it out and stumbling over something. Is that right?
Right. So we are running test cases. We are running these UI onboarding through APIs, and we are validating them on UI as well. So during that validation, we got those bugs.
So Larry, this is actually what we are doing is a rock component testing.
Yeah.
Rock component testing, not
right. Not the rock integration testing. So basically, the history of this is the Kajit team observed the 900 UVM, and you cannot provision more than 900 UVs. So that's the issue, and that's where we've got the fix in terms of 2136, and that's where we were testing it if it can go well beyond 1000 or so, and that's where we found, and that's where we got this issue.
This is the bug that's been there for 6 months now.
Right. So, yeah, that bug still needs to be tested. It was in the 2136 release. What the guys are saying here is another issue that's popped up. And so I need time to investigate it. I think it's 3662. No, it's the other one. Sorry.
That's the UI refresh issue. The 3661 would be the one that you are pointing to.
Yeah, so here there's some kind of, briefly just to describe it, there's some kind of a race condition going on as far as I can see, between onus config and the SD core. So the guys are pushing in the change with a new UE. It's passing in onus config. It's accepting it, and then it's pushing it down to SD core. And when it gets to SD core, it says, I can't add this device because that SIM doesn't exist. And
Got it.
it's kind of I don't know why SD core is saying that. It must have some different version of the configuration at that point. And so I think there might be some race condition or some ordering condition going on here that will need more investigation. I haven't come across it before.
Okay, thank you. That is an interesting.
And I need to add it as a comment down at the end of this. I haven't updated it today.
Okay. All right, anything popping back up to QA?
Yeah. For 3-node cluster, I think Preetham can update us on there.
Yeah, we were able to set up a 3-node cluster on means by installing Ansible on the master node.
Mm-hmm.
And Larry, I shared the doc link and this thing, doc link and what are the changes I made there with you.
Yeah, I had not gotten to check it yet. So I saw what you posted yesterday, the day before, but what you posted
today also I sent.
What you posted most recently, does it include the Ansible playbook as part of the release, as part of the Git copy?
Yeah.
Okay, because it was off. I couldn't see that from last time. All right, thank you.
Okay, so means the question is that we did with on the means that Ansible we installed on the master node, and that's what means that's how we create the cluster. So yeah, the question is that the expectation, or we need to separate that deployment node means Ansible node from the cluster?
The starter node, the first node is the one that's going to be invoking Ansible on the other, so that's correct.
Okay, yeah.
So I think I'll take a look at this and maybe I'll have some feedback on it. But I think the higher order bit here might be this now depends on the effort to separate out the GNOME SIM before it makes sense to proceed with it. So I hopefully we'll have an update on that next week, and it hopefully will be. I mean, it's been done manually; they just haven't automated it yet. So I would not know what to tell you to do next while we wait on that, on this particular track.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Okay. So in that case, what we can do is we can halt this 3-node cluster thing as of now until we hear from you
Yeah,
on this angle. And meanwhile, Preetham can look into the other aspects that SG core release and raw component testing that Kunal is currently working on. He can help him with respect to these.
that sounds like a good plan.
Cool. I'm just taking this opportunity to ask you, Larry, about one more thing that we kind of discussed last week about the 4G node 4G node be getting tested on the Aether on ramp. Is that activity still on the charts? Or
Yeah, I think that would be a great place to put some effort in. Yes.
right. So in that case, we just wanted to know what versions of the softwares that you want us to use there. Because of what I understand is the latest is everything is 5G related, but the Inode B is 4G.
No, the latest is an on-ramp definition. It's not the latest Helm chart. So it should be the case that on-ramp go into the 4G radio blueprint, and that's what should work.
Okay. Okay. So we just go ahead and try and install the Aether on ramp with 4G radio. That's it. Nothing explicitly needs to be taken care.
If you find any bugs with that, let me know, because that should, like I said, this is something that has not been tested in a while because I've been focusing on the 5G case, but
Right.
it worked the last time I tried it.
Okay. Right. So what we can do is we can give it a shot.
Yeah, and let's just see what Bitrot has set in since the last time. That's the next step.
Sure. Yep. Cool. So Preetham can focus on that.
All right, that sounds good.
Cool.
And the challenge is going to get be getting the radio configured right. And I don't have any great, and there's some online documentation, but otherwise it's kind of a challenging thing to do.
Right. I think since the 4G radio is already with us, I believe the major challenge would be to try and find out the makefile target for this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So Larry,
I'm just going to
least,
make. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was using Cloud Lab since the last probably 2 days before, and now looks like they have updated their policy. So is there any way that we are still in touch with Cloud Lab so that they can allow some machines to be created with the affiliation of that we are working for the ONF project or something?
Well,
they recently updated the questionnaire, and we are not allowed to. I'm not able to create any machine. It just stuck that.
So I will give them a try. The problem here is that Andy's the one that has been most commonly been in contact with Cloud Lab and the closest relationship, and he's out of the country for 2 weeks. So I will give it a shot. So I will give it a shot. I mean, I know the Cloud Lab folks, so I'm going to see what's going on. I can't promise it'll work, but I will see if I can get any more information.
Sure. I think they do say that we can enter the name. Only thing is that it is not it doesn't move to the next steps, right? So anyways, yeah, just see if you can do something.
Yeah, I saw that email, and I was going to let you know that Andy's out of the country, so I will. I will give it a shot. All right, I think that is it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.